what is the vibe like in the courtroom, and what stands out to each of you, or what's something that has stood out to each of you as you've been there for the last few days, and we can go down the horn, and then I promise I'll get the audience questions. But I do want to get the vibe question because I think it's important.
It is important.
Spicy judge. I listened to her. She presided over the SEC versus Coinbase case, which has now been dropped. I got the sense, and I wasn't in the courtroom for that, but listening in on the phone line, that she was much more sympathetic with Coinbase than she was with the SEC. So maybe I thought coming into this, she's familiar with crypto. She's familiar how crypto has been marginalized from a regulatory perspective. Maybe she'll have some some leniency here. And obviously, I know this case is very different, but. I kind of get the sense that she's not as sympathetic towards the defense and maybe a little bit more to the government side. I think that contributes to the vibe in the room because it's probably mostly Storm advocates in there as opposed to government advocates. The jury, to me, looks bored. I actually got a glimpse when they were walking in of their notebook, or at least one of their notebooks, and it was just like rainbow drawings and like stars and stuff like that. I'm like, I can tell where your mind's at. Just eyes glazing over. But yeah, that's kind of the vibe I'm getting.
I think that's fair. That's a good summary. It's interesting. It's everything feels very drawn out. So like in making their point today, for example, the government just went through 1 billion messages. And I think I get the sense they're doing it to sort of like beat the jury over the head with like, look at all these things these guys were saying, like these are bad people sort of thing. Not trying to necessarily appeal to some of the logical arguments, but more like, look, why would they be saying this if they didn't mean it? But from another perspective, did anybody go to church growing up? I said this jokingly today. Yeah, it's like, remember like when you're a kid in church or any religious service and you're like in these wooden pews and you're just bored out of your mind. There's moments where things...
We're also in the wooden pews.
Yeah, we're in the wooden pews in the courtroom. There's moments where things get very tense, and like yesterday was quite intense when they had one of their tracing experts on the stand, a special agent from the IRS, and then you're dialed in, but there's these extended periods of time where you're just like, it's mind-numbing. You sort of have to be there in case something pops up. You have to be paying attention, but for the most part, it's just a lot of like formulaic going through the process of bringing up evidence, putting that, submitting that evidence into the record, and then discussing things. I mean, some of it is literally like, here's a page worth of text. Let's read it to each other just so that it's on the record and on the transcript. And you're just like, okay, like, it's very gray in the room. It's not like there's just like sunlight streaming through the windows. It's like, you don't really know what's going on outside. You wish you knew what was going on outside.
Yeah, because we don't have phones.
We don't have phones. We don't have computers.
We're just like staring at each other.
Notepads and pens, and we're like, oh my God, what time is it?
I've read about 70 pages of Thomas Pynchon's Vineland.
No, there's more than one person there reading a book, and we're all, in the meantime, I brought Ludwig von Mises' Human Action, which is the densest, saddest book on economics you'll ever read, and I'm happier looking at that from time to time than I am listening to the case, so I'll leave it there. But yeah, your take on the vibe.
So as far as the vibe, what I would offer is actually just mostly a contrast with the Sam Bankman-Fried trial. What I've been, surprised and this is sort of a broader analysis too, like there just has not been that much interest on this trial. We have, I believe, a Business Insider reporter is also covering it, but the attention has been very minimal. I was just seeing some photos somebody was sharing in a group I'm in of apparently there are a few protesters showing up to the trial now, so that's going to be very interesting to watch. But the like level of, I mean, it's I guess it's just very difficult to explain to people the broader implications of this. And so there's just not as much kind of intensity. And so that contributes to the sleepiness in the room, I think. The one thing I will add, though, is that the defense is actually very vigorous. And they, especially yesterday, there has been some very energetic cross-examination. I don't remember his first name, but Klein is one of the defense lawyers. He was actually like yelling at Werlau, the witness from Anchain AI yesterday, and really like kind of badgering him, and he didn't get called on it. Which was interesting, but they're like the three, like the other defense attorney. Well, I love all three of the defense attorneys. Patton is this guy who's like tall, and if you're a fan of What We Do in the Shadows, he's like the tall, stretched out version of the energy vampire played by Mark Proch, or however you pronounce his name. He has that like kind of voice, and it really sounds great when he's like starting to ask a question to a witness. He's like, and he's like going slow, and then Carrie Axel.
I don't know what to do with
She's
that.
a boss. She's a boss.
Carrie Axel is a very aggressive female defense attorney, which like the Sam Bankman-Fried trial. One of the highlights was Danielle Sassoon was the prosecutor there, and there's certain. Let's just say there's certain men who like being questioned by a woman does not agree with their personalities, and we got that in SBF, and we're getting a little bit of that in this with Axel on Cross. It's great.